Outrage that the Patriot, John Brennan, that they would take his security clearance. Can't believe that this has happened. This is just another outrage. If you're listening to left-wing media today, or mainstream media as some call them, you think that Trump is cracking down on his critics. That's what they're going to tell you. I say, amen, glory be to God. John Brennan finally stripped of his security clearance. The outrage here is that he's not in prison. And what? Okay, just to explain to you what the outrage here is. This didn't start with me or the show this morning. This has been going on for years. I have been screaming about John Brennan. This is The Guardian from July 2014. Okay. I'm going to tell you why Brennan should not only never have a security clearance, but should have been behind bars for years now. Headline, The Guardian, and The Guardian is one of the big three dailies in the UK. It's very mainstream media newspaper. Headline, CIA admits to spying on Senate Intelligence Committee. Yeah, the Intel Committee is the committee tasked with overseeing their activities to make sure they don't, violate the law, what they're doing is ethical and legal, that kind of thing. CIA director apologizes for improper conduct of agency staff. That was John Brennan. One senator calls on John Brennan to resign in the wake of the scandal. Now, why was John Brennan's CIA spying on the Senate Intel Committee? Oh, well, they were afraid the Russians were trying to influence. No. The CIA, the Intelligence Committee, was investigating the CIA for their actions after 9/11. And the CIA didn't appreciate that. Didn't like that. Brennan acknowledged the internal investigation found agency security personnel had transgressed a firewall set up on the CIA network. Okay. Now, let's just go back to that time and see how the now outraged Democrats felt about it then, because they were the ones spied on by John Brennan. Illegally? Is that my opinion? No. That's the opinion of Democrat Senator Mark Udall of Colorado, who was outraged. This is a quote. Quote, the CIA unconstitutionally spied on Congress by hacking into Senate Intelligence Committee computers. They spied on Lindsey Graham. They spied on Dianne Feinstein. They spied on all of the members, Democrat and Republican, of the Intel Committee. Okay, so I'm going to read the quote as Democrat Senator Mark Udall of Colorado said it at the time in 2014. The CIA unconstitutionally spied on Congress by hacking into Senate Intelligence Committee computers. This grave misconduct is not only illegal, but it violates the U.S. Constitution's requirement of separation of powers. These offenses, along with other errors in judgment by some in the CIA, demonstrate a tremendous failure of leadership, and there must be consequences. 2014, Democratic Senator Mark Udall, one of the victims of the illegal spying by John Brennan. This man is a monster. This man is a tyrant. And he terrifies me. I was scared of him way before it was cool, when people were still sending me texts. You don't say mean things about the CIA, because I saw them on Homeland and they're really patriots. And that was coming from our side of the aisle. And I was saying, no, the CIA is a really evil organization. They do bad things all over the world. They are like an independent country run by communist dictators. And now we're seeing what they really are. And when you look back at the 2014 scandal and the audio of Lindsey Graham, I've got it here, I'm going to play it today, screaming and yelling about how unfair it was that he was spied upon, and Dianne Feinstein screaming about how she was spied upon. And guess what? Break the law. You have it right there. Senator Mark Udall, he apologized, admitted he, by the way, first, before that, there was, of course, the perjury, where Brennan lied under oath. That's a felony punishable by up to 5 years. Lied under oath to Congress, said he and his agency did not spy on Congress. Then the Inspector General of the CIA said, oh, yes, you did. So he was forced to not only admit it, he apologizes, and they're like, okay, well, fine, just go, break the law somewhere else. Don't spy on us. So, the fact that John Brennan got away with spying, retributively spying on the Democrats and the Republicans who were trying to do oversight of his agency, as they should. That is their job. That is their task. That is the impetus, I think, for everything that happened with Trump. Because the whole intel community got the idea, okay, wait, wow, we can spy on actual members of Congress. We break the law to spy on members of Congress, and all we have to do if we get caught is apologize. Awesome! We're totally going to meddle in elections now because there's no repercussions. We can break whatever laws we want because we're better, smarter, and better looking than everyone else. We are the Intel community, and I swear this is what led to the disaster you have today. The fact that Lindsey Graham and Dianne Feinstein and Mark Udall and, yes, even Mark Warner, Senator Mark Warner, who today is screaming and crying crocodile tears over this whole Brennan thing. Well, you know what? That's what led to this FISA court abuse. That's what led to the illegal spying because they allowed John Brennan to do this. He should have been stripped of his security clearance on that day and let out of the CIA in handcuffs. So, thank God. Thank God. How many years did that take? 4? Here's Senator Mark Warner. Who knows? By the way, he is the vice chair of the Senate Intel Committee and one of those who was spied on. He wasn't too happy about it at the time. In fact, he was outraged. Here he is today, crying crocodile tears.
This had an eerie memory of an enemies list. To me, smacks of Nixonian-type practices of trying to silence anyone who's willing to criticize this president.
You're like, wait. What's he talking about? Oh, he's talking about Brennan losing his security clearance. No. The persecution of political enemies, that was what Brennan did illegally. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and post that right now for all of the haters on the text line who are like, see, this is the beginning of the coup by Trump. No. So, I mean, when you have people like Brennan who broke the law, again, those aren't my words. Those are the words of the Democrat Senator Udall on the Intel Committee. When you have, people like Clapper, who we know broke the law, who we know perjured himself. He illegally spied on the American people and then perjured himself before Congress said it wasn't going on. We know that's a lie now because of Edward Snowden. Well, those laws were broken. The statute of limitations to prosecute him, I believe, has already passed this year. It had been going on for 5 years. Every one of these intel agency heads, you can document how they broke the law. And yet, they're still running around. They got gigs on CNN, and they've got security clearances.
And my question is, why?
I don't know.
Why should anybody? I don't care if it's Donald Rumsfeld. Nobody, once you have left the administration, once you are out of active service to the country, in any administration, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Socialist, Green Party, I don't care. Once you leave government service, you should not have top security clearance, period. End of story. I mean, that never happens in the private sector.
No.
Never. And the audacity of the media to act like that Brennan is being stripped of something that he should have a right to right now is laughable.
Yeah. No, and they're saying this is an enemies list and this is a purge. This is persecution. No, persecution is when you illegally use the spy apparatus you've been entrusted with by the American people to keep us safe, to spy on your political enemies, to enhance your own power as CIA director. And I think the answer to your question, Lee, and it's one that terrifies me, why have they gotten away with this? I think members of Congress are scared. Why? Because they know these people will use that spy apparatus on them again. They know these people have files on them. They know this because John Brennan apologized in public for spying on members of Congress. They're afraid. They are afraid. That's why. That's why this has been allowed. The Democrats knew it was wrong back when it was done. They were outraged by it because they were the victims of it. Now that Trump's the victim, they're like, oh, well, fine, yeah. Okay. And you know what this proves? This goes back to my trolls who I love because I'm trying to convert them on the text line. I do. I work on them every day.
You're doing the Lord's work.
I am doing. I know somebody has to, and it involves a lot of suffering. So on my part, but that's okay. I'm willing to do it to preserve the Republic. But, listen, you leftists who are screaming and yelling this morning, let me tell you something about this. You know what this shows right here? What John Brennan did, okay, when he broke the law, in the words of your Democrat senator, to spy on that Democrat senator and Lindsey Graham and Dianne Feinstein, regardless of partisan affiliation, when they finish with us, they are coming for you. If you silence us, if you allow them to terrorize us with this spy apparatus, it is going to be a hop, skip, and a jump before they are doing it to you. And we are not going to be there to defend you because we'll have been silenced. Mm-hmm. You have to understand they are willing to use this against you. They are my enemy, and they're your enemy, too. They are the enemies of freedom. That's who this man is. Thank God he's finally had his security clearance stripped. In a real, true, just society, he would have done years behind bars by now and been in an orange jumpsuit, not on CNN.